Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across this great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us. John, would you wiggle that connection down there again? Because you're getting no distortion on your end, right? You're good? Okay, yeah, it's just my connection. Anyway, so glad to have you along with us as you are hearing this show. It's the first weekend in February. How did that happen? How did that get to be? How did we get through January so fast? Was it a good January for you? Did you have fun? Did you get out and do fun things? Did you get out on the ice? Did you get out and enjoy the snow? There's still time, right? There's still time. I don't care what Punxsutawney Phil sees, whether he sees his shadow or not, it's going to be winter for a while. But as a result, man, we've got some great ice across the state. And this is the first time in several years we can say this. Great ice fishing across almost the entire state. You know, I'm not much of an ice fisherman anymore. I get it. I get the appeal of having that rod in your hand, jigging it up and down, having that rod in your hand when a fish hits. I get that. I can relate to that mostly from jigging the river in the fall or in the spring. Drifting along with the current, bouncing a jig up and down, usually off the bottom, and having that rod in your hand when a fish hits. Nothing like that. But what I don't like, I'll be honest, maybe I'm a little bit of a sissy these days, but I don't like to be cold. No real reason to be cold if you don't have to. I realize when you go out ice fishing with these folks these days, you're not cold. You're in a heated shanty, and it's warm, and you're comfortable. I do have an invitation to go out ice fishing this weekend with my son James. I suspect he would be going out with Mike Smith of Offshore Account Charters. Mike is a guy that I talk to all of the time in the summertime because he also likes to fish the skinny water, and he's out there all the time, and he's an excellent angler. So when I get jammed up and maybe can't find as many fish as I would like, I don't hesitate to reach out to Mike. But he's also one of the guys who charters on Saginaw Bay in the wintertime, and he's been getting great catches of great fish. That is truly a world-class fishery. And for the folks to have access to it this winter with good ice is pretty cool. I mean, it is an excellent resource. So I will probably go out there if for no other reason than just to spend some time with my son James on the ice. But also it'll give me, something to talk about here on the radio show. I don't have the passion for it, I admit. It's one of the... Look, in Michigan, you got to pick your passions. For me, it's bear hunting, it's turkey hunting, and it's summertime walleye fishing. But there is great ice this winter. Speaking of ice, and maybe you can help me out and answer this question. And if you do, please send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. In fact, that's the best way to get in touch with me for anything, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. We have a pond behind our house. And this year, and we've lived there 10 years now. And this year is the first winter that the muskrats who live on the pond, under the ice this time of year, that they've come up in the yard and they appear to be eating grass. They're not digging. I don't think they're doing much damage, but they just look like they're eating grass shoots. It's the first time in 10 years they've done that. Now, I talked to my buddy Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats, and he said the same thing. He's got a pond, and for the first time since they've lived there, the muskrats are coming out of the pond up into the yard to eat the grass, it looks like. Why are they doing that? Why? I mean, I realize if they're eating grass, it's because they're hungry, but why this year? What is there about this year that has caused them to leave their usual habits to come up in the yard and eat grass? If you know the answer to that, if you're a biologist or a botanist or whatever, send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I'd appreciate it. Speaking of wildlife, I was driving home yesterday. I was right on the edge. I was in town. Look, I don't live in a big city, but I do live in town. And quarter of a mile from my house, I look up and I see an eagle flying overhead. It's not uncommon to see eagles on that pond. In the summertime, they'll fish it, they'll hunt it. But I saw an eagle flying overhead, and I was thinking, man, it's pretty common to see eagles now. And then I got thinking about, well, the Saginaw Bay walleye fishery and what a world-class fishery it is. And then all these reports of sturgeon being caught out of the Saginaw River. Sturgeon are native to the watershed, but dirty water pollution kind of drove them out for years and years. Now these days, that sturgeon resource is being replenished. They went up to Black Lake, took some of the fingerlings from the folks there, brought them down, raised them, and have released them in the watershed down here where I live. And now it's not uncommon at all for people to catch sturgeon out of the Saginaw River. Now, you can't target them, you can't keep them, but the fact that they're catching them is pretty cool. And it got me thinking, man gets so much negative attention, so much criticism. Man, us, people, for all the nasty things we've done to Mother Nature over the years and all the damage we've done to wildlife over the years. And I can't deny that. Man has done a lot of damage. Now, much of that was from decades ago. I'm talking about like industrial pollution. Folks really didn't have a handle on what this was going to do, and it was accepted, and it was legal, and it was nothing out of the ordinary, and it was nothing underhanded. It was just part of accepted business practices. But as a result, you had waters, you had watersheds, you had rivers, you had Saginaw Bay that got polluted. And the area around it got polluted. But now, since those practices have stopped, Mother Nature has done a wonderful job in cleaning up. And then man has jumped in to do good things. Again, for example, restocking walleye in Saginaw Bay. Now, these days, Mother Nature takes care of it all. But it was man, it was the DNR, it was sportsmen's groups around Saginaw Bay who stocked those fish in there in the first place years ago. The eagles are back because DDT and other pesticides have pretty much worked their way out of the system. Now, there are other concerns out there, I know. DDT years ago caused eagles to be born with crossed bills so they couldn't feed. But now these days, you look around, there's eagles everywhere. I was 35 years old before I saw my first eagle, and it was a huge treat. And for me, every eagle I see today is still a huge treat. So a thriving world-class walleye situation, resource, fishery. Eagles all over the place. Sturgeon being caught out of the Saginaw River. Coming up here shortly, turkey season. Again, that's a critter. Turkeys were native. They were wiped out. Now they were brought back by man. Man has done a lot of good. Did we do damage years ago? Over the years, of course. But for those folks who say that man is nothing but a negative impact and a negative factor in this world, I think you're wrong. Don't forget our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction coming up Saturday, March 1st. Tickets are now on sale. This is a big event. We always sell out. It's a big event because so many people are so very generous. This year, an African safari to give away, a bear hunt from Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer, a shoulder mount from Scott Keatsman at Linwood Taxidermy, an Illinois whitetail hunt, a beautiful Rapid River knife, a couple of wraith blinds from Primal Outdoors, a coyote hunt from Matt Schuck, a truck trolley from Andy Weiss of Truck Trolley, a youth hunt from Schwab Farms, a day of walleye fishing with me on Saginaw Bay, a Linwood Beach Marina launch pass. And those are just the things that I have on my list right here in front of me. We will sell out. That event is Saturday, March 1st. Tickets on sale now. Go to one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor Dinner Auction 2025. Or on my Facebook page, I have a post there with the flyer. In fact, I'm going to pin that to the top of the page to make it easy for you to find. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show after the break, Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors talks about bringing your outdoor invention to the marketplace. Then, one of the folks who won the Pure Michigan hunt, and I am really mad about this. The DNR made a huge mistake, and they did not draw my name, and I'm not happy about it. But they did draw Dr. Stephen Dater's name. We're going to talk to him about that. He's one of 3 winners, by the way. Then Myron Gilbert in hour number 2 talking about the World Ice Fishing Championships here in Michigan. Lance Valentine of Walleye 101 and this week's Ask Avery segment. Then, in hour number 3, Rick Hobbs from the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. Talks about squirrel hunting with dogs, obviously. And we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Lots coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM. And north of the bridge in the Sioux on WKNW 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality, warm, windproof, weatherproof set and then snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern in less than a minute? Makes complete sense. To learn more, go to the website. Go to the website, versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Or go to Amazon. Go to amazon.com and search for VersaSkins brand. And there are some exciting things in the works coming up for VersaSkins. I will let you know when the time becomes appropriate. versaskins.com. I've had a lot of people come to me over the years, and I'm not sure why this is, but they say, "Hey, Avery, I've got this idea for this product, and I want to outdoor-related product, and I want to bring it to market. Can you help me out?" Well, no, I can't. I know people in the outdoor industry. I know manufacturers. I know dealers. I know retailers. I know reps. I mean, I know a lot of people. But as far as coming up with a product and bringing it to market, that's something I have no experience in. So, no, I can't help you. Well, I can. I can help you. Because I can direct you to my friend Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors. Because over the years, Greg, you know Greg. He was a 6-time Michigan turkey calling champ, a turkey guide. He had the A-Way Outdoors TV show for many years. They made the Bow Grunner Plus. They made several other calls, the Turkey Trooper. But Greg has had a lot of experience in coming up with a concept and taking it to market. And now these days, one of the things he's involved in is helping others do the same. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Greg, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I couldn't be doing better. This whole concept of helping people bring products to market, how did you come up with this?
My father and I started coming up with our own ideas in the late 80s, early 90s, and we had nobody to turn to. And, obviously, it's easy to get taken advantage of, and unfortunately, that happened once or twice. And as we made it on our own down the road and came up with our own ideas, had our own patents, and later on down the road, when we decided to, we put enough years in, we want to sell our own patents. We did that, and we licensed a couple others. But we never had that kind of help. So like you, as we're running our business, people would come up to me too, how do I bring something to market, or how do I work a deal with a hunting company? And I would help them. And this is something that's all upstairs in my head. I've done it for 35 years. And I'm able to help people and give them the help that I never had.
I think of the outdoor industry as primarily a friendly, small operation type industry. However, in the last few years, we see these corporate conglomerates coming in and buying up a lot of the smaller shops. Has that changed the landscape for folks trying to bring a product to market?
It does. It does. There are several companies, like you say, the conglomerates. They're buying up a lot of big name brands, and I've gotten them to pick up some of my inventors' products too. These big conglomerates. In fact, one of them picked up our scent web, and it changed the landscape because it's hard to go to one of these individual companies because they have to get permission from the bigger guy. But the good thing is I've known a lot of these people through the years of my father and I being in the industry. And fortunately for one of the bigger ones out there, they've retained a lot of these presidents in the companies. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes they just put their own people in.
Yeah.
But this one company is very smart. If they're buying a company that's successful, why would they want to change things so much? So fortunately, in the case of one of the other big conglomerates, I knew the vice president of the company when he was just a sales rep 25 years ago, and we got a great relationship, and he oversees all their brands. So I got a great connection there. So it's worked out good.
And it's that kind of access, though, that you have that the average person or the new person coming into the industry wouldn't. So, that alone is worth its weight in gold.
That's what it comes down to. And that doesn't guarantee a deal, but it does guarantee I'm going to get it in front of the right person's nose and give them the right information. Because the average guy out there just thinks, hey, I got this good idea, and everyone's just going to buy it up. Well, we always hope for that, but it's a small percentage that gets picked up by these companies. And it's not that maybe they don't like the idea. It's just if they have 3 openings a year for a new idea and they have 300 people knocking on that same door, and that's no exaggeration, the odds are already against you. Plus, these companies rather get a new idea from within, someone on their payroll, so they don't have to pay a royalty. But they do pick up ideas from the outside. And so I know what they look for because I was one of them people for 30 years. And I know what they look for, and most inventors want to give them too much information. They're proud of their baby, and they want to show it off, and they want that person to see it as they do. And if they're lucky enough to get through to the right person, they probably inundate them with too much information. You need to keep it short and sweet, and I know exactly what they look for, and I'll get them the right information, and I'll usually get it to the right person. And from there, it's going to come down to if the company wants it, if they like it, and if their finances line up as well, because they have to have money to produce these products, and it depends what else they have in their hopper.
Everybody who comes to you thinks they have an outstanding product. This, like you say, this is their baby, their blood, sweat, and tears. They think this is the best thing ever invented. Can you, though, Greg, looking at this from the outside, can you pretty much tell right away what has the potential to make it and what isn't going to make it?
I could go by what I like, and I think I've got a good feel for that, but ultimately it comes down to the person you're trying to sell it to. Obviously, of the hundreds of these I've done, I've seen items that, oh man, this is like one of the greatest ones I've seen, and other ones I think, I don't know, I probably wouldn't buy it, but it is their blood, sweat, and tears, and they want you to give them the best shot at success, and that's what I do. I'm going to present it to to them companies and let them make the decision, because it's not up to Greg Abbas if it gets picked up. It's up to that company. And obviously, I've seen ones that maybe I wouldn't have buy get picked up, or get a couple companies interested in it at the same time. You just honestly never know. You got to take your shot. And
you got to take your shot.
If it goes in the hoops.
Well, so walk me through this process. At what point should somebody come to you to get some help? Do they have to be, this thing is all ready to rock? They've got a prototype? When do they reach out to you, Greg?
Anytime. I'll take them from just the thought in the head written down on a napkin, all the way up to the guys that have CAD drawings and professional prototypes. And let me say this, you do not need a professional prototype. If you happen to have a garage-made prototype, Frankenstein from different products, that's okay. It is good to have a prototype, but if you just have the concept, you've not even been to the patent attorney yet, call me. We'll work under a non-disclosure agreement. And I think a lot of mistakes are made in the beginning when a lot of inventors try to do things themselves. They try to go for the big patent right from the get-go, which can cost many thousands of dollars. And that's the first mistake they make. Yes, you do want protection, but there's way cheaper ways to go about it, to test the market, to see if someone's going to pick it up first before you dive in with 2 feet and mortgage your house.
And I bet you've seen it. I bet you've seen people who have actually mortgaged their house on their dream.
Oh, I'm talking to a guy right now. He made a lot of mistakes. He called up, and I'm not saying all these companies on TV are bad, but some of them really are bad. And you should check out their ratings on the Better Business Bureau before you call them. They advertise a lot, and there's horror stories, and they'll take your last penny and not even care. I'll help the guy. Honestly, I'm way cheaper than anyone else, and obviously I've got the contacts that these other companies on TV don't in this industry, and I'm a tenth of anything they ever charge. If I see somebody in need and they say, oh man, I've been trying to save up, or I've been on disability, honest to God, Mike, from my heart, I'll work with them and try to make them afford this process. And the average guy can't afford it without going bankrupt.
It sounds to me like a lot of this comes down to integrity, and I've known you for years, Greg, and you are a man of integrity. So that's got to help people. It's got to give them a sense of peace going through this, what could be a very trying time.
Well, and you're right. I don't live by the dollar. I worked hard all my life, and now I'm semi-retired and sitting back and just using my knowledge to help people, honest to God, just to help people. And I take very little. But integrity, yes, you got to be able to trust the person who's going to bat for you. And I think once we talk that first time and they see that, hey, you know what, he's like me. He was where I'm at now. He's done this process many times, and this guy actually might know what he's talking about.
You know what you're talking about, all right. Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors. The website, Greg, if somebody wants to learn more about this, get in touch with you, just go to the website, awayoutdoors.com.
No, awayhunting.com.
Oh, thank you. I always make that mistake. I'm so sorry. awayhunting.com. Okay. I appreciate that. awayhunting.com. Look at, there are a lot of things on that website because there are a lot of things Greg Abbas is involved in these days. Can you stick around for a few more minutes?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Greg Abbas. The website, awayhunting.com, awayhunting.com. You remember Greg from the A-Way Outdoors TV show. They did some very, very cool things. Greg is just an interesting guy. I mean, he's got a wealth of information. He's an expert hunter. He's an expert businessman. And now he's taking that knowledge and helping other people get involved in the business. So we'll talk more about that and other things that he's involved in. Then, to wrap up this hour, and again, I'm not happy about this. The DNR has made a huge mistake with the Pure Michigan Hunt, and they did not draw my name. I was supposed to win the Pure Michigan Hunt, and I didn't. They drew 3 other names, including Stephen Dater. Well, we'll talk with Dr. Stephen Dater, at the end of the hour and see what it's like to win the Pure Michigan Hunt, because I sure can't tell you. All that's coming up yet this first hour of Outdoor Magazine. can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And north of the bridge in Manistee, WTIQ 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the company that makes this sound. Enough said, right? I could go on now. That is the sound of the Rapid River knife locking back open. I just took it out of my pocket. It's there all the time. Rapid River knives, handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula with a lifetime guarantee. Go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. Use the promo code Avery10. Get 10% off, or better yet, go to the showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River. Right now, Chris Durson of Rapid River is having a giveaway contest. If you go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, you can enter to win an Idaho bear hunt coming up this summer. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. And I bet there was a time in Chris Durson's life when he was looking at this concept of, okay, I got a knife here. I want to build this knife. How do I bring it to market? Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors, the website awayhunting.com, awayhunting.com, can help people accomplish that goal. Greg, what's the timeline to make something like this happen? Are we talking years and years?
No. Usually a couple months, a month or two, actually.
Really?
And before I get into that, though, I had to pick up my jaw off the ground and reattach it when I learned you didn't win that pure Michigan hunt.
Me too.
But honestly, the timeline right now is the best time for these guys to get this going. We just finished the ATA show and the SHOT Show. The slate is now clean, and these companies are going to put their focus toward finding products for next year. This is the best time to get this project going. You don't want to drag into late summer and into fall. Do it now.
Do it now. All right, so our timing on this conversation is good then.
It's excellent.
Another conversation that I want to have with you while we still have a few minutes, and this will start, well, for most people it'll start in the summertime, but it's something you start as soon as the ice goes out. And again, we can learn more about this at the website awayhunting.com, but this is hunting of a different sort. Tell me about that, Greg, and you know where I'm going with this.
I do. I am a big-time rock hunter, rock hound, as they call us in the community, and I've been so ever since I was a little kid. I mean, I always look down and pick up pretty rocks, but little did I know how many beautiful rocks and desirable rocks are on our Michigan Great Lakes. Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, they all have their own specific kind, Lake Superior especially, and I make jewelry out of it, stone jewelry. And I didn't know that the Lord had this in my plans in my life. I had no idea. I just happened to buy this tile saw at a garage sale for $7 years ago, and I just wanted to cut a couple rocks in half. Well, then I started shaping them and making things and making jewelry for my wife, and people would see that and they'd want it. And pretty soon I thought, maybe I could do something here. And I just threw a couple of those up on my hunting website at A-Way. And I might sell one or two pieces a year. And then my wife's aunt says, why don't you get this on Etsy? And I said, what's Etsy? And she told me. And so I started putting those on Etsy, and I started getting all these orders. And I thought, do I really want to dive in? Because I enjoy this. And I bought a professional cabbing machine, and now I'm able to make the jewelry that I make now, which is high-end professional. But it started with a tile saw, and it is so much fun. And I went from maybe 2 sales a year to 600 to 800.
Wow. You talk about the different kinds of stones. I know Petoskey stones, right? That's very famous, but there's others there's this.
Number one.
There's like this, what is it, a Uperlite in the UP?
Yeah.
What is that?
Lake Superior. It's sodalite, fluorescent sodalite, and when you shine a 365 nm UV light on it, it does a fluorescent glow in different patterns, depending on the rocks you find. There could be speckles, there could be snowflake patterns. It comes in all kinds of different patterns, and it's such an amazing stone. And believe it or not, I sell a lot of jewelry made out of that. On the east side, Lake Huron, you got the pudding stones. and those are beautiful and sought after as well. Northwest Michigan, you got Leland Bluestones. That was actually made from the iron smelting that took place in the 1800s. It was a byproduct of that, and it was a glass slag that was thrown into Lake Michigan to get rid of it. And now it rolls to shore in these beautiful blue stones and other colors too, but the blue ones are highly desirable.
And you start looking for these as soon as the ice goes out.
Oh, yeah, that's the time to do it. The ice sheets bring the stones closer to shore, and going the back and forth when they break up, it exposes other rocks too that, might have been moss covered. And that's the time I go out. I go out in the waders, and I look.
Well, Greg, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. You're an interesting guy with so many different things you've accomplished over the years and still accomplishing these days. I would encourage people to seek you out if they want some help in bringing a product to market, specifically an outdoor-related product. Go to the website, awayhunting.com, awayhunting.com. Greg, continued good luck to you, and you and I will stay in touch.
Yes, sir. You have a blessed day.
You as well. Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors, the website, awayhunting.com, awayhunting.com. One of the truly good guys in the outdoor industry. And you know what? I think we got a lot of good guys in the outdoor industry. It's a pretty good world to work in. We'll take a break. When we come back, maybe the guy who took my spot in the Pure Michigan Hunt as a winner. Stephen Dater, we'll talk to him about what it's like to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan, including WHTC in Holland. That's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ, 1320 AM. I was telling you before that I'm really not happy with the Michigan DNR. I think they've made a huge mistake. They did not call my name for the Pure Michigan Hunt. And I was convinced that this was my year. And the reason I wanted to win this hunt so badly, and there are 3 winners every year. You win so many wonderful prizes. The best one of all, you get a bull tag. You get the coveted Michigan bull tag. You get a bear tag any season. You get all kinds of special hunts, all kinds of gear. And they didn't draw my name. I'm listening to them read the names. And they drew the name of Steve Dater. And Steve is with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Steve, welcome to the show and congrats.
Thanks, Mike. I'm really sorry it wasn't your name.
No, you're not.
Bad now.
No, you're not.
You're right. I'm not. I'm getting over it.
Yeah, I'd get over it in a hurry too. What is it like to win the Pure Michigan Hunt?
It's unbelievable. I've been like most people putting in for that bull tag for years and doing the Pure Michigan Hunt, and was just shocked. I guess still shocked that I thought there was a scam trying to get a hold of me.
Yeah, Eric from the DNR said, I can't get this guy to return my call.
Yep. Too many scams. So I'm just still in shock and very happy. I've been trying to get that bull elk tag. That's the big thing I'm very excited about. I'm
just curious, how many years do you think you've applied for the Pure Michigan Hunt?
How long's it been going?
Okay, long time, yeah. And my other question I always ask the winners is, how many times did you apply this year?
Once. I bought 5.
5, okay.
5, yep.
And you didn't watch the drawing then. It's not like you weren't like me. I was sitting there watching this. You'd kind of forgotten about it or whatever?
In fact, I was when I got the link, I was in a meeting. I didn't have the sound on, and I opened it, and I saw the 3 guys, not realizing it was last year, and said, nope, didn't win. And then when I started getting the calls, I was like, what the heck? Why? Yeah, right, urgent matter from the DNR, whatever.
Is that what they say? We have an urgent message from the DNR. Please call us back.
And I'm thinking, I didn't even shoot anything this year. What are they bothering me for?
I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So are you a hunter, Steve?
Yes, I am a bow hunter mostly.
Oh, really?
So I will be going after the elk with a bow.
Oh, okay. This is very interesting. I'm not sure many people have done that before, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, I did get an elk in New Mexico with my bow, but I wanted to do it in Michigan, and I don't use a crossbow. I still use the compound.
So you're hardcore. I mean, this is, to me, you're the perfect guy to win this hunt. Somebody who is in the lifestyle, who is very much invested and just wants to take it to the next step.
Yes, sir. It's a little more challenging, but we'll work on it.
Are you a bear hunter at all?
I have gone once in Alberta.
Will you take advantage of the Michigan tag?
Yeah, I have a friend that wants to go with me, just enjoy it, and just got to figure out when.
Oh. Well, Steve Dater, congrats to you. It is truly the hunt of a lifetime. I mean, a lot of people across the state apply every year thinking, man, if I could win the Pure Michigan Hunt. So I always appreciate the opportunity to talk to folks who have won. And I will look forward to seeing a picture of you this fall sitting over a great big old Michigan bull elk with that bow laying down on its side. That's what a beautiful hunt that's going to be. Good luck to you.
Oh, hey, thanks, Mike. And next year you can interview yourself when you win.
From your lips. Steve Dater, congrats. Have fun. We'll be watching you from afar as you enjoy the benefits of the Pure Michigan Hunt. Steve was one of 3 Pure Michigan Hunt winners. I was not one of them. Sometime here, while I am still on this earth, I will win the Pure Michigan Hunt. Now, it won't look good. The people are going to say, Avery, you had it in. You've been talking about winning this thing. It's fixed. You know what? Just like Steve said, I will take the criticism. I will gladly take the criticism. So he wins a bull elk tag any season. He wins a Michigan black bear tag any season, any area. First preference for some managed waterfowl hunts. If I win the Pure Michigan Hunt, I will give those to some of my waterfowl hunting buddies. Some other spiffs on some hunts and a whole bunch of gear. All because he applied for the Pure Michigan Hunt. So he 5 tries, $25. He spent $25. He wins the hunt of a lifetime. Michigan DNR, I'm still not happy about this. I think you've made a mistake. I think you can rectify it next year by drawing my name. And I will continue to put in for this hunt as long as I'm able to hunt. Michigan.gov/DNR, Michigan.gov/DNR. You can put in for the next year's Pure Michigan Hunt if you want. I'm going to sulk here for a little bit. And then once I get over it, I'll start putting in for next year's hunt. When we come back in hour number 2, talking about the World Ice Fishing Championship here in Michigan.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I'll tell you this every week. I think the best way to listen to this show, if you can, is on your local radio station. your local AM or FM station. You get your local news and weather and sports. Even your local spots, commercials, we call them spots, because maybe there's a sale or something you want to take advantage of. Plus, my affiliates, the radio stations, get the content of the show before I upload it as a podcast. But isn't it nice to know that there is a podcast if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some small part of our state not covered by the broadcast footprint of the show? You can hear the podcast on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I also put it on my Facebook page, and it's on all of the other podcast outlets that are out there, including Audible and iHeartRadio and SoundCloud and Spotify and Player, everything. Even put it on YouTube. I also do podcasts, too, that are specifically for podcasts. I do them for offshore tackle and Angler Quest boats. We just did an offshore last week. We did an Angler Quest last week with Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters and Linwood Beach Marina. We talk about ice fishing on Saginaw Bay. Then we also talk about the new lineup of 2025 Angler Quest boats, QUEST. You can hear that at anglerquestpontoons.com. It's also on my Facebook page. Speaking of ice, I said earlier in the first hour of the show that we are really lucky this year. We got good ice. It's a good ice fishing season. We're off to a good start. Imagine this, though. If you were planning an event to come to Michigan, and it was a big event, and the entire world would be looking at your event, the entire ice fishing world, and if when you planned it, you didn't know what the weather conditions were going to be like, man, wouldn't you breathe a big sigh of relief to see that we actually have ice? That's what Myron Gilbert is doing. Myron is he's the captain of the U.S. ice fishing team, and the U.S. ice fishing team will be fishing in the World Ice Fishing Championship to be held here in Michigan on Tamarack Lake. How cool is that? Myron is with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line to talk more about it. Myron, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm really good, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. Let me tell you, there is a huge sigh of relief coming out of me. My knees are sore from praying. I'm not kidding you. When I was in Mongolia last year in Mountain, and it was going to be here, when I got home, the main question was, how can you bring it here when we didn't even have ice, the previous year and everything. But when I was in Mongolia competing last year, it was the coldest year in 40 or 50 years, and that was 12 time zones away. So it's exactly the other side of the earth. So on the other side of the earth, we had the coldest winter in 50 years, and on this side of the globe, the warmest in 40 or 50 years type of thing. So now this year, it's ebbed back around, and I prayed for that, and it didn't happen. But so now that's all really good and fine. We have superb ice fishing conditions, good ice on the lake, great venue. Everything's coming together way better. We're doing a catch and release event, first time ever done in ice fishing, in the world competition, that is. I'm sure they've done it in other venues, but in ice fishing, so we're being closely watched from around the world on how we're doing that. And I've spent a lot of time and effort into making that come true, Mike. So
well, tell me about the World Ice Fishing Championship. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Well, I started in 2010, and I tried out for the team because they went in 2009 and they went to Poland and finished last. Well, then the next year they have tryouts, and of course I tried out, made the team, and it was in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and they all come over here since our poor showing overseas, figuring that we were pushovers. Well, then I hadn't met Myron Gilbert yet at that point, so. Then we went from last to first. We got a gold medal, and then holy cow, they couldn't hardly believe we didn't even know what we did then, as a matter of fact. But it was a tremendous event, and then I competed around the world, and they've continued. But every time we think we're getting a little better, we take a step back, especially overseas, because everything's so different from what we do. Here we just cut a hole or put something down with bait on it and fish. Over there they chum. They would never dream of fishing down a hole that they didn't chum first. Their fish are bottom orientated. Ours are up in the water column, bluegills, crappies, perch. Their fish feed extensively right in the mud and on the bottom. It's just totally different than what our fish do over here, typically.
So there are different species of fish that they're going to be fishing for here in Michigan than they do in other parts of the world.
They don't have bluegills and crappies over there. They have what they call roach, which is a big shiner minnow, which is basically they're silver with red eyes, but they build exactly like our big golden shiners that you use for big fishing and stuff in the States. And there's some in this lake too. We caught some, but not many. But here they're more golden and they don't have red eyes. That's the only difference. They're built exactly the same. Their traits are the same. They would probably interbreed if you threw them in a tank together. They're that close. And they also have perch over there that they call red fins, but they get really big over there, sometimes 5-6 pounds compared to our perch, really big at 2 pounds, typically. But we caught them over there 2 3/4 pounds to 3 pounds. We caught 3 of them practicing. That the guys did. So they're tremendous, beautiful fish. Look just like our perch, real red fins and stripes. Beautiful fish.
So I'm looking at the website, usangling.org, and I see you've got teams coming in from Estonia, Finland, Kazakhstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Mongolia, Norway, Poland, Sweden, and this country. So this is truly a world fishing event.
Oh, yes. Well, we lost the Ukraine and with the war going on, they banned Russia and Belarusian because of, political stuff. And then the Ukraine being at war, they couldn't come over here this year because it's hard to send a team fun fishing when you're fighting a war.
Sure.
When you got your people dying, and sometimes life, there's other things more important than fishing, family's one of them, so tremendous respect for them, wish everything was good, wish they were here, but we understand totally,
So yes, absolutely. Now, so you said these other teams, they would cut a hole and then they would chum it first. Will they be allowed to do it? Can you? Is that legal?
Yes, you can in Michigan. Yeah, that's legal in Michigan. It totally is. Yes,
okay.
You can't use fish parts. But over there, traditionally, they were laughing at them over there. But it works. Them fish feed so much on the bottom. They call it like a feeder. It's a little device you pack it with like food. So it's like deer bait, and you drop it down to the bottom and you snap it open, and that puts a bunch of feed right there. And they might run around and do 6-8 of them holes before they ever start fishing. So they run around and get them a bait pile going at all these holes, and then they go back and check them type of thing. And it's totally alien to what an American would do.
Yeah.
We had to change our ways when we went over there, because after they lay a licking on you a few times, you kind of go, well, maybe we should do maybe do as they do. And it seems that way it worked out really good for us in Mongolia last year. So just saying, there's something to their madness over there. It works. That's all I can tell you.
Well, Myron, tell me about you. I mean, are you a professional angler? Are you just a hardcore recreational guy, or what? How did you get to this spot?
Actually, I made my living as a longtime charter boat captain out of Ludington and Lake Erie. I was out of Toledo Beach, Luna Pier, and now I'm not chartering now. I'm retired from that, but I keep my boat in Monroe still. It's still a passion, family and friends and fishing all the time. But that's how I made my living a long time. And then when I was doing that, I thought I might get a little fame and stuff off my boat and on the Great Lakes, but that was nothing like that. I started ice fishing in the early 2000s, started competing, started winning right away, placing high, winning some money. Then my partner and I went on the road, started going to Wisconsin, Minnesota, and we found out that our Michigan guys are probably the best around, because we have a lot tougher fishing than they do in the other states. The other states are a lot easier than what we got. A lot of our lakes, good lakes, are surrounded by houses, be fishing pressure,
Yeah.
Just sometimes very difficult to catch. Anybody that fishes around here knows that, and so there's probably an area of from Lansing over to the coast and south down and all the way to the border that's produced more national champions ice fishermen than the other area of the country, period. So pretty impressive. But that's because of how they're raised. They're raised on tough fishing and hard competition. And, that breeds success on the world level.
It's a very interesting concept to invite anglers in from across the world to come to Michigan to Tamarack Lake. I got to take a break here, Myron. But when we come back, one of the questions I'm going to ask you is why Tamarack Lake and what are anglers going to find there? But we're talking with Myron Gilbert. He's the coach of the U.S. Ice Angling Team. If you go to the website, usangling.org, you can look at the World Ice Fishing Championship that's coming up here in Michigan very soon over by Lakeview. It is February 11th through the 16th. Again, the website, usangling.org. We'll take a break. When we come back, more with the guy who brought this World Ice Fishing Championship to Michigan. His name is Myron Gilbert, a retired charter captain and now an avid ice angler. Coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS and north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. The folks at Linwood Beach are smiling this winter because there's ice on Saginaw Bay. Pretty good ice, and there's a lot of people out there on the bay chasing walleye and perch. Linwood Beach Marina, a great place to jump off on Saginaw Bay, jump off to the bay. And as we look down the road here a couple of months, just a couple of months, when it's time for the ice to go away and the open water boating season comes, that's when Linwood Beach can really be your friend. Get the boat out of storage, get it ready for the water. Great facilities, great boat launch, ship store, mechanics, boat repair. Great place right there on the shores of Saginaw Bay. LinwoodBeachMarina.com, LinwoodBeachMarina.com. Speaking of ice fishing, and that seems to be really a topic of much discussion this year across the state because we have ice. Myron Gilbert is the coach of the U.S. Ice Fishing Team. They are competing in a couple of weeks in the World Ice Fishing Championship to be held here in Michigan, specifically on Tamarack Lake near Lakeview. Myron, I'm curious, of all the different bodies of water in Michigan, why that lake?
Well, there was a whole process we had to go by. First, we had to have an international airport, Grand Rapids, to bring all these anglers from around the world in. And then we needed a venue big enough, to house all them, which we ended up going with the DoubleTree Motels. They gave us a great offer. The city of Grand Rapids was very helpful on getting that all set up. But then we needed a venue, a lake to put it on. So we searched around everywhere within driving distance because a lot of the lakes didn't have, the facilities that we need, like with the motels and an event center so that we can have opening and closing ceremonies, several hundred people, to feed and all that. So Grand Rapids stepped up to that. But then we started looking around the communities here, and we selected this lake because it has a lot of small fish in it, which suits world competition. They like catching lots of fish, and they're used to that. And they've been giving us that good venue around the world, so we're trying to follow suit. And this lake here, then it's a less offensive. A lot of our fishermen, nobody wants to have a whole bunch of people out there raking their lake over, especially a smaller lake like this one. It's only 323 acres. It's loaded with stunted fish, which suits us good, but then we're not bothering a lot of the people. They're saying, well, you should just keep all of them. Well, state law says we can only keep 25. And in world competition, we have to have unlimited catch for 3 hours. And the other states have like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Dakotas have a cull law. You can either throw the fish back when you catch it, or you put it in a bucket, live well stringer. You can't no longer throw it back. You got to keep it. Michigan doesn't have that. We can catch a fish, put them in the bucket, and then return them completely legally. I got it all sanctioned through the DNR, and they were very helpful and looking for a great event. They're helping us all I can, but that way we can stay within full legal limits of state law and not violate that, when we can do 3 hours of unlimited fishing, numbers don't count, because what we're going to do is they're each going to have a bucket with them with some water in it. And as they catch their fish, throw them in the bucket, and they got to stay below 25. We're going to have scales at each one of the zones, which there will be 5, and weigh the fish and immediately return them to the lake. And then they can continue fishing, catching as many as they want for 3 hours. And when we had tryouts, some of the guys weighed 5, 6, 7 times. They were catching fish that fast, but they were small fish, granted, but everybody's happy when they're catching fish, when they're not, because it's eye of the beholder. It's like smelt fishing. You're having a riot, even though the fish are small, it's still, you're going to get to eat them and enjoyable. But this venue really suited what we needed, small community. And the town is thrilled to have us. It's a small community, so they didn't have to do nothing to bring the event here. I just informed them we were going to have it here, and then they went wild. So it's like winning the lottery, and they didn't even have to buy a lottery ticket, So it works out really well for them. But the community is really helping us immensely. And it's a small town community like me. I live down in the little town of Brooklyn, down the southern part of the state. And that was another thing. We wanted to far north in the range to where we would get good ice, because that was a factor. And then we wanted it far enough from the lake where we wouldn't get pounded with lake effect snows, not to mess the ice up, So we tried everything in our favor to set it up so we had ice, and now that's all come to pass, and the venue is beautiful, and everything's coming together better than I ever would have dreamed, to tell you the truth. When I did this, I went out on a limb so far, Mike, I couldn't believe it.
I know the chance you took. Big risk, big reward, right? And it's all coming together. But so Tamarack Lake isn't known as a trophy lake, right? So
absolutely not.
What if somebody lucks into a 25-inch pike? Does that mean basically they're going to?
No, we all the game fish are out.
They are.
They're not even to be weighed. The only thing that's going to be inbounds, there's no pike, no bass, no walleyes. We haven't seen a walleye there yet, but there is occasionally big panfish in this lake. We caught one that weighed 1 pound 6 ounces. The next biggest one was under a pound. The next biggest one was under a half pound, and then the rest of them were like quarter pound and less. So that that's probably, and I'm not exaggerating, 10,000 fish caught in 5 competitions amongst my guys.
So this is panfish only then.
Panfish only, basically, with shiners. If they can catch a carp or a catfish or a bullhead, that'll all be in. But the odds of that are really slim. It's going to be 90%, 85 to 90% bluegills caught, probably. Some crappies, 10-15% crappies, and then a smattering of perch, maybe small perch. I haven't seen a big one here yet, or even one that's cleanable, and perch and them shiners, which we saw a couple of. So it's going to be how it breaks down in competition.
So what are the folks fishing for? Pride? Or is there a dollar?
No, there's no money. It's no money. This is just national pride. And let me tell you about the other countries. We're all pretty patriotic here. When the national anthem plays, we stand up, cover our heart, and acknowledge that. When their national anthem plays, they do the same exact thing, and they cry too, just like we do. So it's national pride. They take it extremely serious, as we do, because I've traveled the world, and we front for the United States, so I take a great bit of pride in that. And our conduct, I make darn sure my teammates and all my guys know how serious I am about that. So they don't ever question the old coach about that.
Don't question the coach. Hey, did you ever dream as a kid growing up there in Brooklyn, Southeast Michigan, that you would end up where you are now from fishing?
On a farm. No, I was raised on a farm. I'm raised rough, tough. I would have all these faraway world travels I've done. I was just in Mongolia, and I was in awe because I'm riding up the same valley and staying in the same hometown as Genghis Khan, the greatest barbarian to ever rule the earth. And I'm staying in his little hometown and driving up the same valleys and in all the area, and people are living in really similar to the way they do or way they did then. And it was awe-inspiring. I said, I read about this when I was in my history, when I was a kid, never, ever dreaming I would get to see it, type of thing. Whew, I've been blessed.
Very cool. Hey, if people want to see this, I mean, is this a spectator sport?
Yes, absolutely. When we had in the Wausau, we were in the middle of Mongolia last year, and I don't know, we had at least 1,000 people out there all running around cheering on the local heroes, the local team. If they caught one, they were hooting and hollering, just like what we do, type thing. And I expect a boisterous crowd here. You can't get out in by the anglers, or it's going to be kind of stringed off, and they got to stay out a certain boundary. But they can get within probably 30 feet of the anglers, and watch, all around the zones and watch everything going on and all the running and watching them, catching them. You can't get right in behind them, you got a lot of fish.
Sure.
But it'll be a huge spectator deal. There'll be people running all over the darn place and having a good time. And the people in town here, they already had me laughing. They were planning on getting loads of wood and having big bonfires and hooting and hollering in their yards and having a keg of beer. Some of the older gals in town, they had me laughing so hard the other day. They were really looking forward to it. So it's going to be a party is what I see happening.
Do your anglers, is there a limit on electronics? Like, can they use forward-facing sonar? Zero. It's strictly in world competition. Now, we use that for scouting and mapping. They allowed to do that to map and scout their areas. But on game days, there's no electronics. It's hand drilling, no power augers. Strictly hand drilling and little fishing poles they'll be using. Old school. Yeah.
Old school all the way. Now we see who's got it and who don't. And that's how I trained all my guys. I just did tryouts on this lake, on the venue where we anticipate fishing. I felt it was extremely important to pick my team right in the venue where it took place, so they can battle it out here. And I'm picking the best guys for the job because they proved it right here. Not on some Higgins Lake fishing and trying out. They're trying it out right where we're going to compete. So
how many folks are on the team?
I got 6. I got 5 that'll fish the first day of the alternate. Whoever does the poorest on day 1 will go out, and the alternate comes in, number 6. And he's there in case somebody gets sick, break a leg, or whatever. Anything can happen. Whatever. But I got an alternate guy, so I got 6 guys. They're all extremely good fishermen. I got a veteran team. They've all fished world championships overseas, all of them. Yeah, so they know exactly that's kind of why they qualified the way they did, because all their experience, and they come to play, and having it here in the U.S., they were especially driven. It's one thing going overseas here, but at home, special pride goes.
Oh, yeah, to be able to fish here at home now, this is very cool. Now, this is coming up February 11th through the 16th. Tamarack Lake, over near Lakeview. The website is usangling.org, usangling.org. Myron Gilbert, congrats on bringing this to this country and to Michigan. Good luck. You've got ice. Have fun, and I'll be watching.
I'm thrilled you had me on the radio, and I've listened to you many times. Never expected it. I'd be just like in Mongolia. I never expected that. I never expect the interview with you either, Mike, but it's been a real pleasure.
Well, going to Mongolia would be a bigger treat than talking to me. Thank you, Myron. I appreciate that. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more fishing, but not ice fishing. We're going to talk with Lance Valentine. What's up with this whole walleye zone thing? Lance, make up your mind. Is it teaching fishing? Is it walleye 101 or is it walleye zone? I say that in jest. I love the guy. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. And you can hear us, let's go to Traverse City, WTCM 580 AM. Want to continue on now with our fishing theme, but not so much ice fishing. My guest now, Lance Valentine, Lance is like me, I think. Well, Lance is not like me. Lance is much smarter than me. But Lance is like me in that I don't think he's a huge ice fisherman, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Is that true, Lance?
That is 100% true.
Why? There are fish out there to be caught. Why don't you want to get on the ice?
Well, we were a hockey family growing up, so our weekends were, and 2 nights a week were spent at the rink. So there wasn't much time to do it. And when I got into fishing and started doing a lot of seminars and stuff, obviously this time of year is show season and seminar time. So it's kind of a time of the year I just take a little bit of break and kind of just concentrate on creating content, being in the studio, being on the computer and getting stuff done so I can really hit it come late March, early April.
Yeah, in preparation for the springtime walleye fishing on the Detroit River and then up on Saginaw Bay. You're a pretty busy guy year-round. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and it's nice to have a little break, right? Honestly, by the time the end of August rolls around, I really don't care if I ever go fishing again.
And then how long does it take before you're jonesing to get back out there?
About the middle of September, early October. Like, man, I can't wait for the fall fishing to kick in. So, but it is nice to have a little break from And again, we're still fishing, right? We're doing seminars. We're putting a lot of stuff together, creating a lot of content for our new web platform, and so fishing is always every day first thing in my mind, and what my job is, and we just don't get on. I've never had a good experience ice fishing, so. Maybe if somebody wants to get me on a good ice bite for some nice big crappies or maybe some nice bluegills or some walleye, maybe I would go and try it again. But I've never had a good experience ice fishing.
Oh man, you just threw out a challenge right there. Hey, speaking of your new web platform, the walleyezone.com, what's that all about?
Yeah. So what we did is we took all of our stuff. So we have 4 different Facebook pages. We had a website. We had some offline stuff that we shared video with our membership with, and did some live Q&A through a Vimeo product. And between having things in multiple different places and all the noise on social media, I'm kind of scrolling around before you called. I'm looking at some fishing posts, and the third post, you get the guy who's never been fishing who has a comment about don't keep big fish, and just all the noise on social media, and we just got tired of all that. So what we did is we actually created our own platform. I didn't do it. The guy that works with me did a great job creating our own platform, and we brought all of our content into one spot. So all of our seminars, all of our articles, all of our blog, all of our interaction with other anglers, other members, and we have complete control over it. Nobody can tell us what we can put up. Nobody can tell us what we can't put up. We can very quickly eliminate the people who don't want to participate. So we call it fishing social interaction without the social media noise. So everything that we have done is there. Everything we do is there. We just did a live what we call a coffee hour one night a month. We just had Nick DeShano on for an hour last night talking about offshore tackle. Everything that we do is over in one spot. You click on one place, you go to walleyezone.com. Everything you're going to ever want to see, every new content creator we're going to bring on, all new pieces of content, old pieces of content, access to your membership, everything we do is all in one spot now that we have complete control over. So we've kind of taken all the frustration of social media out of it, but still have all the interaction, all the ability to share all of our great content and interact with other anglers.
Boy, I really like this idea. No social media at all? You're just going to let those pages go?
So the pages are going to be used basically to promote the Walleye Zone. So, we put up 2 or 3 pieces of public content every week. We share that out. We share the link out on our Facebook page. But to be honest with you, to get to it and read it, so it's kind of a tease, you have to you'll click on the link. It'll take you to the walleyezone.com. We'll ask you for your email address and a couple of questions about fishing to make sure you're legit. And once you do that, you're on, and we have a ton of free content once you get on there. So we will be using our social pages to promote, what we're doing, some, the events we're doing, and promote what's going on the Walleye Zone and try to get you over there. But as far as sharing content through social media, it's something we probably won't do much anymore. So, like my nightly, I do a nightly fishing report every day from the Detroit River, a live fishing report every night from the Detroit River. That's going to be over on the Walleye Zone, and the guys can get there for free. All we ask for is your email address and 5 or 6 questions about fishing, so we know you're not a bot and we get to know a little bit about you. And all that great content is in one spot without all the crap that goes on social media.
Pretty interesting idea. I think it's pretty cool. Are you going to be doing seminars at Outdoorama?
I will be at Outdoorama now. Here's what's really cool about Outdoorama. On Sunday from 11 to 3, we are presenting our Ultimate Detroit River Course, and we're going to talk about everything Detroit River, migration routes, how fish move, when they come in the river, where they come in the river. There's 3 different ways in the river from Lake Erie. Where they come in makes a complete difference on how long they stay and where they distribute on the river. We're going to talk about how walleyes move, where they go pre-spawn, post-spawn, spawning, where you can get big fish, how bottom composition makes a big difference. Some really detailed information that Sunday, and guys can get signed up for that.
Excellent. Hey, Lance, now look, I gotta let you go, but we'll get you back on the show here as we get closer to that big Detroit River springtime jigging season. Lance Valentine, the Walleye Zone, thewalleyezone.com, thewalleyezone.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment, and I'm going to ask you a question this time around. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Now, the way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the show, the content of the show. Send me a question. Send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Tell me what you want to know. Is it something that you want me to answer directly, or is it a question you want me to pass along to somebody else? Mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. This week, I'm kind of turning the table on this whole thing, though. I have a question. So it's not Ask Avery, it's Avery asking. And I brought this up earlier in the show. We're going to get a twofer today, though, but the first part of this is, okay, we have a pond behind our house. Obviously, right now, this time of year, that pond is covered with ice. There are a couple of muskrats that live in that pond, and we enjoy watching them all summer long. Usually, we don't see them in the wintertime, but this year, for the first time in 10 years, we've lived in this house for 10 years, we've never seen this happen. The 2 muskrats are coming up into the yard to eat. I can't figure out exactly what they're eating. It doesn't look like they're doing any real damage. They're not digging, but it looks like maybe they're eating grass. That's the closest thing I can come to it. But they're definitely eating. Now, I talked to my friend Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats, and he said the same thing. He said, Mike, we got muskrats coming out of our pond. For some reason, this year they're coming up into the yard. And he's got dogs, and his dogs don't like those muskrats. So, here's my question to you. Help me figure this out. What is it about this year that is causing those muskrats to come up into the yard? If you're a biologist, if you're a botanist, if you're a wildlife expert, let me know what the reason for this is. Just send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and tell me, say, hey, Avery, the reason these muskrats are coming up in your yard this winter is, and then I'll go, why didn't I think of that? Okay. So the second part of this Ask Avery segment this week is actually an Ask Avery. I have a lot of people ask me, Mike, why don't you ice fish? What do you have against ice fishing? Is it like crawlers? Are you too good to ice fish? I don't dislike ice fishing. I really don't. When I was a kid growing up, I spent a lot of time ice fishing on small inland lakes. Actually even did some spearing on small inland lakes. I'm nothing against that experience at all. I like that. Even, in fact, when the kids were little, we did a lot of ice fishing. We took them to the inland lakes just a little north of our house and did a lot of ice fishing for panfish. So I don't dislike it at all. I have fished many times on Saginaw Bay in the wintertime when we have ice for walleye. Really, nothing against it. But it's just not my main thing. I don't have a sled. I don't have a quad. So that limits my ability to get out there. Now, I have been asked by my son, James. He said, hey, I'm going out there this weekend, and you are more than happy to come along. He said, I'm going probably with Mike Smith, his buddy who runs Offshore Account. And these guys have it all set up. They've got heated shanties. They get you out there. They put you on fish. So I will likely go along with them because, number one, I want to spend time with my son, James. And going out there and refreshing my memory what that experience is about will give me things to talk about here on the radio show. I mean, I always love to talk about my hunting and fishing trips, and it's a far better conversation when I can, rely on something that is fresh in my mind to do that rather than these trips we made years ago. I mean, one of the best fishing trips of my entire life was on Saginaw Bay in the wintertime, probably 30 years ago. My dad and my brother came over from the west, 25 years ago, came over from the west side of the state. And we went out with some local guys and took us out there and put us on fish, and boom, 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 we all got a limit of fish. And that was a riot. That was fun. But here in Michigan, we have so many different options. You just kind of got to pick what your passions are going to be. For me, the things that get me jonesing are bear hunting, turkey hunting, and summertime walleye fishing, trolling for walleye. But I know people who would much rather go out there in the wintertime on the ice. I guess the thing that maybe frustrates me the most is being stuck in one spot. I want to be able to move around and go find fish. When you're ice fishing, it's more of, okay, you find a good spot and you kind of wait them out. But I am a pretty patient guy, so I guess, I don't know. We'll see. But it's not that. And look, I'll be real honest with you too. As I get older, I'm not real. I don't like getting cold. But again, they take that excuse away from you. You sit in a heated shanty. You don't get cold. Ice fishing is a wonderful wintertime outdoor activity. And I am so glad we have ice for ice anglers. It's just not high on my list. Thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. When we come back in hour number 3, Squirrel Dogs with Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association and wild game chef Dixie Dave Minar.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Sorry about that, Charlie. I didn't know the mic was open. I'm just clearing my throat here. That was so professional. Usually I look over and make sure that little button's not pressed. I was looking away. I do have a little bit of a frog in my throat. I think I got it from Jonathan, who was in here the first 2 hours. He's got a cold, and I think he gave it to me. So, John, if you're listening down the hall, I'm blaming you for my frog in my throat and my unprofessional behavior at the beginning of the 3rd hour of this week's show. What I was going to say is, as I'm listening to the list of companies that Ken Hunter was reading that help bring this show to you, I know it's a long list. But it's an important list to me because these are all partners of mine, people I work with, people I trust, people who do make this show possible. And I don't often make this plea, but I will today. If you find an opportunity to work with those companies, I would advise you to, would encourage you to check them out. Now, I'm not saying, hey, look, a deal with somebody Avery suggested because Avery suggested it. No, I'm saying give them a chance. If you have a need for their product or service, just give them a chance and see if they will do the job for you. And The reason I work with those companies is because I'm confident they will indeed do a good job. So what is going on this time of year? Boy, a lot of talk about ice fishing in this week's show. And isn't it nice that for the first time in so many years, we have basically good, solid ice across the state to talk about? But let's take a break from that. Enough ice fishing for this week. What else is going on? Well, there's predator hunting. That's huge across our state, isn't it? What else? How about small game? Small game tends to get overlooked in our state these days, in large part, I think, and I'm guilty of it. I talk about bear hunting, I talk about turkey hunting, I talk about deer hunting. I talk very limited about elk hunting for our limited elk hunt. By the way, I didn't win the Pure Michigan hunt this year, and I think the DNR made a big mistake by not drawing my name. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm just they made a mistake. But small game hunting, isn't that how most of us started? That's how I started. As a kid growing up on the west side of the state, I grew up chasing rabbits and squirrels. Never chased squirrels with a dog. In fact, I'm not even sure it was legal back then. These days it is, and these days there are a group of very dedicated hunters who use squirrel dogs to hunt with, and I'm fascinated by it. Rick Hobbs is one of the guys from the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line to talk more about it. Hey, Rick, welcome back. How have you been?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thank you.
If you, in fact, I've been trying to get in touch with you. You've been on the ice yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, I spent a couple days up north on the ice. Had a couple great days with a family ice fishing, and I get up pretty regular to ice fish myself.
You said you had the grandkids with you, if I remember right. What a treat that is, isn't it?
Yeah. I got a 6-year-old grandson that pretty much does everything an adult does in an ice shanty. He baits his own hook, takes his fish off. So very good with a sonar.
What a riot! What a riot! I think there's a saying that says God gives us grandkids to make up for the mistakes we made with our kids, and I think in large part that's true. But grandkids sure are a riot.
Yeah, they are, and I'm very fortunate with both my kids and their spouses that they spend a lot of time in the outdoors with my grandkids, and waterfowl hunting, squirrel hunting, just pretty much everything, and it's good for the kids, real good.
It is. It's good for the kids. It's good for the family. It's good all the way around. But let's talk about squirrel hunting here now. How did you get involved hunting squirrels with dogs?
Well, actually, I've hunted hounds for my entire life. I didn't start squirrel hunting with dogs until my son got into it about 10 years ago. And I now have 2 Tring feists. I have an 8-year-old female and a 4-year-old male, and I absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun.
Feist, that is the dog that I hear over and over. Is that the ideal squirrel dog?
Well, there's two dogs typically used in squirrel hunting. You have your feists, which are a smaller, little closer hunting dog, and then you have a lot of your cur dogs, who are more houndy. They tend to range a little farther, fare a little better in the colder weather. So those are, but really just about any dog, if you spend time with it in the woods, you can train it to tree squirrels.
Now, would you be running the same dogs for squirrels that you would for, say, predator hunting, for coyote hunting?
No, I would not. I'm sure some do in some capacity. Well, some of the cur dogs are commonly used as decoys.
Decoys.
So
no
they're
thanks.
used for decoys for coyotes. Yep, they're used. They're trained very well. I'm not a coyote hunter. It's about the only thing that I don't do.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really comment on it much. But
no, I get it. But I guess my point is, if you have a feist or a cur, you have them because they are your squirrel dog. Then, right?
Well, yeah, it goes beyond that. They live in the house. They're very spoiled, but they're very good when the tracking collars go on. They know it's time to go, and believe me, they're always ready.
So they are good house dogs. They're good pets.
Oh, tremendous! Very smart, very intelligent. Yes. Yep.
You said that you can train any dog probably to tree a squirrel. So my question always when I hear a statement like that is, okay, how much of, in this case, training your squirrel dogs to hunt squirrels, how much of that is what you taught them and how much of that is inbred in them that you just allowed to happen?
I would say about 80% is what's bred into them. The biggest thing with any hunting dog, whether it's a pointer or a treeing dog or whatever, is time in the woods. If you don't put them in the woods, they're not going to learn their craft. And as a dog gets older, it gets smarter. And the best thing I can put it is put them in the woods, treat them right, become friends with them, and they will pay you back dividends.
Is it true with squirrel dogs, like so many other types of hound hunting, is that if you hook up these younger dogs with some older dogs, the older dogs will do a lot in teaching the younger dogs too?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
So
just the basics. Go ahead.
No, and I apologize for talking over you, but in the case of a squirrel dog, then, what is it that you're teaching them? Are you teaching them to find squirrels, to tree squirrels? How does this all work?
Well, my dogs, for example, are they'll go a long ways to find a squirrel if they need to. My two are at the most 300-400 yard dogs. Most squirrel dogs are silent on the track and only bark when they get on the tree. I've seen some cur dogs. My son has a really good one that will bark on the track. It's very important when you're training a young dog to spend time with it by itself so it doesn't become dependent on the older dogs. And I feel, having coon hunted, well, when I was younger, I bear hunted, I hunted bobcat with dogs. They will get dependent on the older dogs and just kind of follow along. So they kind of need the both worlds.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. So how does a squirrel hunt with dogs work? I mean, you pull up to a woodlot, you drive up to a woodlot, you know there are squirrels in there because there's squirrels everywhere. How many dogs do you have with you normally?
Normally I hunt by myself. I'm retired now, and I either hunt by myself or with my son and his family. My wife loves to squirrel hunt. We use tracking collars. I use Garmin's, for example, and we turn them loose. They know what their job is, and off they go. And the handheld is telling me what they're doing, and then they'll tree and they'll bark and stay there till I get there.
So do they only find squirrels or see squirrels that are on the ground, or do they actually look up into the trees too?
Actually, both. These dogs use their noses, they use their eyes, and they use their ears. They do some ground tracking. Sometimes there are squirrels in the trees that have not been on the ground. If they can identify them and tree them, it's called a layup tree. The beauty of it for me is, okay, I hunt for the dogs. I don't take many squirrels nowadays. I leave many more squirrels in the trees and go on to tree them another day. So on any given day, I may take one or two and clean them. We love to eat them. So.
I think that is true of every hound hunter I have ever talked to. They say the same thing, whether it's, well, except for coyotes. If it's bear hunting or bobcat hunting or squirrel hunting, they say we leave far more behind than we ever harvest. I think that's interesting. Rick, hang tight. I got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. We're talking with Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. And that really rings true. Everybody other than a coyote hunter says we leave more than we take. We do it for the experience. And nothing against the coyote hunters at all, because they're predator hunters and we want them to thin out that population. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Rick about this wintertime activity of using dogs, hounds, to hunt squirrels. And then, of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's all coming up this week right here in Hour 3 of Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. You can hear us over on the other side of the state in the Thumb, Sandusky, WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us, we can go north of the bridge one more time. Let's go to Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Killer Food Plots. Now, I realize you're not putting in food plots right now, and you're likely not even hunting over food plots right now. But as you think about the year coming up, the season coming up, it is not too early to start making those plans. Is there an area you wanted to put in a food plot? Is there an area that you want to change the shape or the size of a food plot? Did your food plots not come in as well as you had hoped? Well, now is the time to be thinking about that. And very shortly here, making contact with the folks you're going to work with on your food plots, whether it's just getting seed or whether it's actually putting them in the ground and doing much more project habitat management. Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots can do it all. He's your one-stop shop. If you go to the website killerfoodplots.com, that's Killer Food Plots, you will see what I mean. Rich will be, and Ellie, his wife Ellie, and their staff will be at many of the outdoor shows across the state this winter. And also, just as a little aside, Rich and Ellie will be at the big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. Maybe you get a chance to talk to them there as well. That's killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. Right now, talking about squirrel hunting, but not the type of squirrel hunting I grew up doing. When I was a kid, I would go out there either with a .22 or a shotgun. We had big woodlot behind the house. I mean, a big section of woods, and there were always squirrels there. But I'd go out there, and I would sit at the base of a tree and just sit there and watch the woods and listen. And eventually, those squirrels would start becoming active because I spooked them as I walked in there. They'd start becoming more active, and I would shoot them and take them home and clean them, and we would eat them. My granddad always said, if you can hunt squirrels, still hunt squirrels, you are good enough that you can hunt for deer. I thought that was one of his words of wisdom that I took to heart over the years. And these days, you can still hunt squirrels that way, and it's still a lot of fun. But if you want a little more social activity, if you want to get many people involved, if you want to get kids involved, you can use a hound to hunt squirrels. And that's what Rick Hobbs does. He's with the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. Rick, let's talk more about this. When one of your hounds trees a squirrel or sees a squirrel already up in a tree, how do those squirrels react? Will they sit tight or will they run from tree to tree to get away from that dog?
A lot of times they will sit tight. A lot of times they will what we call timbering. They can run long distances through the trees to try to escape the dogs and the hunters. It's difficult when you're hunting by yourself because they'll also move around to the opposite side of the tree, and you can go around and around forever, and they'll just keep moving.
Been there.
You've probably experienced that. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. But no, a lot of times they do. Go ahead.
No, I know. Listen, you keep talking. You're the guy who we want to hear there. But when they go around, see, I was thinking about this. If I hunted with a dog, squirrels are famous for going on the backside of a tree and just doing, like you say, a little dance. But if you got a dog with you and your dog goes to the backside of the tree, well, okay, now the squirrel, I think, is going to come around to my side if I choose to shoot him.
Yeah, unless you've got somebody else on the other side, they're normally gonna avoid you. But you know, like I mentioned earlier, most of them I'm not going to take anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So,
what types of squirrels do we have here in Michigan? I mean, is it just one basic type of squirrel that has different colors, or how does this work?
Well, we have fox squirrels, a lot of fox squirrels. They're a consistent color phase. Gray squirrels, we see pretty much everywhere I hunt anymore. I see more grays than fox squirrels, and they can be in all color phases. I've seen them reddish colored, traditional gray, silver, and black squirrels.
So is the black actually a black colored fox squirrel?
Gray squirrel.
Gray squirrel,
Gray
black
squirrel
a black
family.
colored gray squirrel. Okay, and the fox squirrels are those great big ones that are kind of reddish colored.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, when you do decide to take these things and eat them, do they taste differently, or do they all just taste like squirrel?
You know what? I can't tell the difference in them and squirrels. You know, fish. Every fish has its own distinct taste.
Mm-hmm.
Difference between a deer and rabbit, obviously, but squirrels, I can't really tell the difference. So,
Yeah.
one we didn't mention is a red squirrel, or some people call pine squirrels. They're a difficult one. They like to go in holes and not real sought after, but I take them when I do tree them.
Red squirrels, I think, are the ones that I see on bear baits, right? They come into the bear baits and they'll hop all around and they'll jump under logs and stuff. That's a red squirrel?
Typically, depends on what you're baiting bear with. It could be any kind of squirrel.
Yeah. There's not as
Could be
much
any kind
meat
of
though.
squirrel.
They're smaller, right?
No, they're a lot smaller. Yes.
Okay. So
Yep.
is there
The fox squirrels are the largest.
is there something about that red squirrel? You say when you tree them, you'll take them. Is that because they're considered what? Why do you take one of those if you tree them?
Well, first of all, to my understanding, there's no limit on them. No season. They're considered a varmint, or whatever you want to call them. So and the thing is with red squirrels, you tree a fair amount of them, but you don't see many. They tend to go and nest into holes in the ground, and where you can't harvest them. So
Gotcha.
yeah, and you can tell they like smaller pines and juniper trees, and but you can also find them in mature hardwoods too.
Gotcha. Now, you guys at the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, you are very interested in sharing what you do with others. I mean, you have events where you invite people to come out and go with you, right?
Yes, absolutely. They have monthly hunts from September through March. It's different from mid part of the state down to, I'm in Lenawee County, for example. So, yes, they do. They're very active in a lot of the youth. They recently had a youth hunt. I believe it was in Greenville. I believe there were other organizations involved. Michigan DNR was involved, which is really good for kids. So,
yeah, if you want to get a kid in squirrel hunting, this is the way to do it versus just going out there and sitting quietly at the base of a tree, right? Because this is it's like waterfowl hunting in that it's a social activity, I think, from what I can see.
Yeah, that is. For example, my son hosted a hunt back in December where I had a number of the fathers in my group, and we had 4 or 5 kids, and it's great. You let the kids do the shooting, and we had 4 dogs, I believe, and everybody got along. It's really great for the kids.
So squirrel season in Michigan runs through what, mid-March or the end of March? I don't remember.
End of March.
And is the hunting the same across the board all winter long? Does it get better or worse as the season moves along?
I try to get out as much as I can throughout the whole season. I've always enjoyed the winter. January, February, and to some extent, I slow down in March for reasons. I'm getting ready for turkey hunting. A lot of factors. The leaves are off. I hunt state land then, and I have it all to myself a lot. It's great. You can't believe it. So.
That's interesting, right? That's the one time of year you can go out on state land and you got nobody to compete with.
Absolutely. Yep.
What do you look for?
Absolutely.
When you say you were driving into a new piece of state land, and I realize you probably know your hunting lands over and over. You know it very well because you've been there over and over. If you were driving into a new area, though, or a new hunter, what would you look for in an area that's going to have some squirrels?
Predominantly, you want to look for mature hardwoods, oak, any nut-bearing trees, acorns, hickories. Hickories tend to drop earlier. The best way to identify a squirrel woods, for example, in the fall, as far as their activity, is by hickory cuttings. Oaks, acorns, you can see acorns on the ground. You can see the caps everywhere, but the hickory cuttings really stand out. If you see a lot of them, you've got a lot of squirrel activity.
What do you mean? What do you mean by hickory cuttings? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Rick.
Hickory nuts. They chew the outside hull off the nut for the inside.
Oh,
nut,
gotcha. Okay.
And you see them scattered all over the place.
Gotcha.
So, yep.
It's
yeah, they peel them back just like an orange.
I've never seen that, but it'd be fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
Anything else we should know about this, Rick? I find it fascinating. I think what you guys are doing is wonderful. Anything more?
Just the typical stuff, respecting the other hunters. The extensions of the deer seasons, which is a necessity. Usually I don't start till later in the day. I know all of our squirrel hunts don't start till 10. Consider them deer hunters. And respect law enforcement and the game laws. It's about the only thing I can tell you.
No, that's good though. I do appreciate the fact that you brought up with that, not interfering with other hunters. Wait until the deer hunters are out of the woods. And now this time of year you can go out there. There's no deer hunters out there, so you got the whole woods to yourself, except for you and the rabbit hunters.
Don't see many of them. I've done a lot of rabbit hunting with beagles in my time too, and anymore their habitats don't really cross much.
Yeah.
Where you're hunting squirrels, you're not typically going to be hunting cottontails. So,
is there anything here in Michigan you don't hunt?
Coyote.
That's the one. That's right. You said no coyotes.
Don't hunt coyote. Avid deer hunter.
Everything else. Rick, I appreciate your time. Thanks for reminding us about what squirrel hunting with dogs is all about, and this Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. Keep up the good work, and I'll check in with you again with you next year, and we'll talk more about it.
Sounds good, Mike. Great to talk to you.
Always a pleasure, Rick. Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, a hardcore outdoorsman. He loves the outdoors. He loves sharing it with his family. He loves sharing it with others, and I appreciate that so much. We'll take a break, talk about a few more things, and when we come back after that, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. Let's go northeast of there, quite a ways to Tawas, WIOS 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And let's jump back down to the south to Saginaw, WSGW 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. Been here for 20 years now. 20 years. I was only 16 when I started working in here. I don't actually work for WSGW. I work with the folks at WSGW, including Charlie Rood, who's in here now, Jonathan Dent, who was in here earlier. Charlie threw us a curve today. John was in here the first 2 hours. So people didn't know that Charlie was going to be here. So there's nobody in the parking lot. When Charlie's in here all 3 hours and they know it, they line up and they just, Charlie. But Charlie, you took him by surprise. There's nobody out there. I know it's disappointing, but people love you, Charlie. They love John, too, but John just hasn't been around long enough to draw the accolades that you, Charlie Rood, do. All right, there's still time to get your tickets for the big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. It's coming up Saturday, March 1st at the Great Hall in Midland. This is purely personal for me. It's a fundraiser for my church and our little parochial school, Trinity Monitor Lutheran Church, near Auburn. Man, we've got some great items to auction off. First of all, a lot of guns. Guns, 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 all over the place. We're going to have so many gun raffles. And folks at Duncan's in Bay City are working with us to provide those guns. So we get a lot of guns. In the live auction that I will be the auctioneer for, we've got an African hunt. We've got an Illinois whitetail hunt. I think we'll put the shoulder mount from Linwood Taxidermy in there. Bear hunt courtesy of Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Beautiful Rapid River knife. Hope to get a couple of Wraith blinds from Primal Outdoors. A coyote hunt courtesy of Matt Schock. A truck trolley from Andy Weiss of Truck Trolley. Youth hunt from Schwab Farms. A day of fishing for walleye with me on Saginaw Bay aboard the new Angler Quest QUEST this summer. Linwood Beach Launch Pass. What else? Just so many things in here. Art Lewis, by the way, is our guest of honor from WSGW. So a lot of auction, and that's just scratching the surface. A live auction, silent auction, 50-50, bourbon pull, wine pull. You can get your tickets at one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor Dinner. What is it? Dinner Auction 2025. There's a lot there, right? That's a lot to remember. If you go to my Facebook page, Mike Avery Outdoors on Facebook, I have a post there that has the flyer for the event, the website, and the QR code that you can just scan with your phone, take you right to the site. And I will pin that now to the top of my page for the next couple of weeks until we sell out, because we will sell out. We always sell out on this event. It is Saturday, March 1st at the Great Hall in Midland. Would absolutely love to see you there. Okay, what else is going on? Oh, it's February. The first show for February. Where did January go? I don't know. Where did 2024 go? I don't know. And regardless of what Punxsutawney Phil sees, whether he sees his shadow or not, it's going to be winter for a while. We know that. But the good thing this year is we've got great ice for ice fishermen across the state. I got a bone to pick with the Michigan DNR. If you've listened to the show earlier, you know that I am not happy with the powers that be at the DNR in Lansing at all. And it doesn't involve deer management. It doesn't involve fish management. It doesn't involve DNR laws or whatever. It involves a pure Michigan hunt. Once again, they've made a mistake. And they've done this now several years. The pure Michigan hunt that they draw 3 winners for every year that gives you a bull elk tag. It gives you a bear tag any season, any area. All kinds of other things, a bunch of gear. I was supposed to win. I wasn't going to win the whole thing. I was just going to be one of the 3 winners. I was convinced. I knew this was my year. And when Eric Hilliard of the DNR announced the names last week, my name wasn't on there. And I am not happy about it. So if I can find the right person to complain to, I will, because they made a mistake. They did draw Steve Dater. I had him on in the first hour of the show. And he said, Mike, I'm so very sorry. And then he laughed. He says, no, I'm not. One of these days, while I'm still here on this earth and mobile, I will win the pure Michigan hunt. But I didn't this year. So congrats to Steve Dater. I don't know I do know the names of the other 2, but I've seen them, but they weren't on the show, so I don't remember them. So congrats to all 3 winners of the pure Michigan hunt. Enjoy it while you can, because next year I'm going to win it. It's going to happen. And you know what? You can apply now for next year's pure Michigan hunt. I can't make myself do it just yet. I just need to take a big deep breath and know that the 3 guys who did win will have fun. Could have been me. It could have been a winner. But nope, Michigan DNR once again screwed up. We'll take a break. When we come back, Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave Minar wraps it all up. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. So glad to have you along with us as we wrap up this weekly 3-hour adventure. Talking about hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping, mostly right here in the great state of Michigan. We like to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. You know, shooting something, harvesting something, catching something is just a bonus. The experience of being out there doing it is the real reward. But isn't it nice to occasionally end up with something for the table? Now, I know in our house, my wife Denise has been making some wonderful dishes out of bear and venison that I shot both last fall. My first Michigan black bear and the first Michigan whitetail in a long time, and it's been wonderful. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar knows that feeling very well about taking wild game into turning it into something special for your family, or in his case, his customers at the restaurant. And he joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. David, welcome back.
How's it going, Mike?
I'm doing great. How are you, buddy?
Really good, really good. Couldn't be happier, actually.
What do you have for us this week?
Well, we got on page 110, we have a venison pot pie. It's a really a nice hearty dish for a winter meal. So this is a recipe that's very good ways to use a neck roast or some other cuts which might not be as tender, because you're going to boil this for a long time. If you listen, we'll talk about that. And if you're going to use a neck roast, you want to leave the bone in because you're going to get more flavor out of it. You want to start by browning the meat on all sides, all around, and then get a pot big enough to hold all of the vegetables and everything that we're going to be talking about. And you want to bring that to a boil. And you're going to do the same thing with the vegetables. Add them in, brown them and put them aside a little bit, kind of break that flavor loose. And you can put that about halfway through cooking, or take it out about halfway. It's up to you, whatever you do. You don't want to cook them to mush. You want to start with cold water, enough to cover the meat and vegetables. And you'll notice that a scum will start to appear as the water becomes hotter. And you want to skim that off. That's like the blood that's coming out of it. And it's not going to hurt the flavor or anything. It's just not as pretty looking as a clear stock. So when the meat is done enough to easily pull it off of the bone, or if you're using a boneless meat, when it's tender, take the meat out, add the wine, vegetables, spices, and save the potatoes until just before we cap the pie. And if you choose to use prepared dough sticks, unbaked pie shells, puff pastry, or your own favorite unsweetened dough recipe, by all means. So the ingredients are going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds of venison neck roast, because there's going to be a lot of waste on the neck roast because you got the bone that you're trying to boil that for the flavor. A couple of large potatoes, diced medium small, 3 carrots peeled and cut into half-inch dices. Same thing with the celery. You want to cut that in about half-inch dices. And a large onion, you want to dice that pretty small so that puts the flavor all through. And you could use leeks as an option. You can use a rutabaga as an optional. And you need about half a teaspoon of Italian spice, 1.5 cups of a good red wine. Whatever wine you're going to drink with this, use it. A 6-ounce package of mushrooms cut into quarter. Lots of fresh ground pepper to bring up that flavor. And beef base, that better than bouillon, to your taste. So when you get the meat done and the vegetables, set them aside, take it out of the water, add the wine and the spices to the water, and turn it on high heat, reduce it fast. The reduction of the stock should go down in about maybe 4 cups of volume, because you're going to have 2 9-inch pie shells, or you could use a 9x13 casserole, or a little bit bigger even. Line the bottom with the pastry, spoon the mixture on top, and then top with another piece of pastry. You could use an egg wash and paint the edges, and take a fork and make a nice little design on it. And you can bake it about an hour or more until the crust gets a golden brown and nice bubbly hot. and take it out. Let it set a few minutes before you cut into it. And the mixture, before you top it with pastry or anything, it freezes really well. So if you want one pie and you want to save it for later, it's going to be just perfectly acceptable. It's a great dish.
Yeah, and it sounds wonderful. David, I'm thinking next week, because we just talked to Rick Hobbs from the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, and he was talking about squirrels. Can we do a squirrel dish next week?
Sure, absolutely. I got numerous squirrel recipes that you could use for rabbit and or squirrel.
All right, let's do that. And real quick before I let you go, how is the new cooking gig going at the King's Dish in Standish?
Great. It's doing wonderful. They're letting me do some wild game dinners, specials. We had gator last week, and we'll have gator appetizer for this week. And we'll do a salmon with shrimp sauce again. And it's going really good. We got some venison that we bought from Gordon's Food Service, a New Zealand red stag. We
Excellent.
bought that.
Dixie Dave is back in the kitchen. Look out, ladies and gentlemen. Dixie Dave is back in the kitchen where he belongs. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you joining me this week, as I appreciate you for listening. If you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do this, and I love it. My name is Mike Avery. The show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com.